So, I have been planning to make a video about AI music generation, and I've been planning to do that for like a month now. And my thoughts about it have gone all over the place. So, let me start at the beginning. So, in my normal life, when I'm not making music and I'm not wearing the Dr. Coffee hat, I'm an expert in research and innovation, and I help people and companies and institutions kind of grow their research and innovation programs. So I have to stay on top of all the latest technologies. So I study everything from manufacturing technologies all the way to the digital side. And now AI is like everywhere. So I'm all over that. And I like to learn to use a lot of this stuff myself so I can familiarize myself with it. So for the last few years, I've been, experimenting with large language models and using it for generating creative ideas or working on my own creative ideas, which could be writing and such. And sometimes I use it for refining professional writing. So I'll write a whole bunch of things, and I use ChatGPT, I have one that I've trained really well, helps me refine writing and really make sure we're covering off all the points and make amazing proposals. So I have found use cases for it that I think are really strong, and I feel like they don't take away any of my integrity. They're actually taking my good work and then elevating it to the next level. And then I ventured in, if you've seen any of my videos, I ventured into the imagery side of things. And so even over the last few years, playing around with generative AI to produce images and videos. And, every time I make a video, I try to pick something I don't know about yet, and I use that video as a vehicle to learn about it. So you can see from some of my videos, like the last one for On the Outside, what I wanted to do there was incorporate real video that I recorded with this camera, recorded myself walking around in my hallway at home, and then incorporate AI into it seamlessly so that you would see it transition into these crazy scenes with the water and the fire and all that. And that was an amazing learning experience. I was really happy with the video when it was over. So the point being is I want to learn about these new AI tools and become good at them so that when a client comes to me, I can kind of talk about it in an intelligent kind of fashion. But with AI music generation, I found that a little bit personal. So, I make a lot of music. I've been making music my whole life. And music to me is a personal journey. Every time you create a song or think about lyrics or whatever, to me, it's like a little tiny art project. So it's like the lyrics have to be poetry and say the right thing. The music has to be fantastic. And I prefer to perform all the stuff myself. So I don't like using other sort of tools or whatever to play things for me. Unless I'm having fun with like a Portasound keyboard, because hell, that's fun. But, for most of my songs, I'll play everything myself. I'm, reasonably good at a bunch of instruments, so I can play piano and guitar and ukulele and stuff. So I can use those to create what I want when I want to make a song. So I sort of thought, what is the point of AI music generation for somebody who is a musician? Because I don't want the computer to write my song. I don't want the computer to write my lyrics. So I kind of avoided it for a really long time. And then way back in the late part of November, way back in November, they had one of those Black Friday sales for Suno. I hate to say their name, but, and it was like 50% off or something like that. So you could use their software for a year for like $80. So I thought, well, for $80, sure, why not? I'll give it a go. And I played around with it a little bit and was not very impressed with, anything. Like if it was creating a song, if I said, write a song about blah, 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 this shit that comes out was just generic and terrible. And it's not something that I would create myself. So I didn't, then I saw you can take another function and you can do a cover. So that means you can upload a song and then specify in the prompt section, what kind of cover you want to do. So I thought, this is kind of cool because I have a humongous back catalog of music that most of you have never even heard of. We joke around sometimes, but the band that I'm still in and was more active years ago called Famous Coffee produced like before CDs were around, I think we had 25 albums. And then when CDs popped up, there were another 20 albums or so. Then we went into digital and did like another 20 albums. So I don't know how many in total there are for Famous Coffee albums, but there's like 70 albums or something like that. And some of them are, some of those songs that we created back then, it's almost like we were just doing sketches. So it's like you get together on a weekend, you want to record a bunch of songs. So we come in with ideas, we record them, usually 1 take or 2 takes. Don't worry too much about the vocals and all that stuff. And we would just hammer out song after song after song. So there's literally like, I don't know, 600 or 700 Famous Coffee songs. And I love a lot of them. Like, it's probably not music for most people. Like, if I play it for my sister or my mom, they would just be like, this is terrible, because it doesn't sound professional and polished. But the songwriting and the ideas are really, really fantastic. We just didn't perform them in top quality. You know, that said, there's many Famous Coffee recordings that were recorded really well, and we practiced the songs and we got them done really well. So there's a mixture of that kind of stuff and these other songs that are like sketches. So I thought, this is a humongous opportunity for me to go back, take some of these old songs, run them through this AI thing, and produce different versions of them. What I think would be a waste of time is if I just tried to make the song be the same as it was. So if the song was like guitar and drums and bass and stuff, why would I make a rock version of the song when we already did that? You know, despite the fact that maybe our version was really rough and the singing was crap or something like that, who cares? I like that version. That's the way I want it to remain. So I wanted to say, what if we make other versions of these songs in different styles? So I played around with like making, orchestral versions, piano concerto style things, and it really brought out some of the beauty in some of those songs, like We're All Dancers, and I did some jazz versions of some of the ones that had kind of like funny, sad lyrics, like here, 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 here is my heart. Yes, it has that many here's in the title. Great. It actually came out really awesome. But then I thought, well, let's do something bigger with this. Like, if it can produce these variations, then maybe I can do something really neat. So that's when I started working on the Child of Dust opera. And I know the word dust is overused in the AI world, but you know what? Child of Dust came from the lyrics to In the Restless Night, because the guy fades into the cosmic storm and he's made of dust. So anyhow, I thought that would be a good title, and I started working on this space opera, and I recruited some friends. So Stephen Bronwyn agreed to participate as the lead characters, and Bill and his son Tommy are going to be the sort of antagonists of the story, and they recorded their parts. I recorded all the narrator parts. It took a long time to write it all, and then it took an even longer time to produce all the music. So what I did was I selected about 30 songs from the Famous Coffee back catalog. Most of the ones I picked up right up front were anything that had to do with space, or used any spacey type words in the title and such, or in the topic in the song. So there was 15, 20 of those. Then I needed a few background songs for when the narrator's talking and the different themes. So a couple main characters are Colin Anyone and Phoebe, and they both needed a theme. So I picked a couple old songs and converted those into something I could use as a theme for them. So the hardest part was actually getting the AI program to create versions that I was happy with. Because my first try would be take a song, like the very first song in the opera is called I'm a Star. And in the original Famous Coffee version, it's played with guitars and a bit of drums and bass and stuff. So it's typically recorded. Singing's pretty good in it. And it has some talky parts in it that don't really relate to the song subject matter in general. But, the one guy's talking about, hey, that's a nice dip in the pool. And he begins the song by going, wee, and I thought, I don't want to lose all that stuff, because that's part of the charm of those original Famous Coffee songs. So I wanted to make sure that the AI did everything that we did when we recorded it, but it just replaced our instruments and voices with orchestra. And so it took a long time to, like many tries, to put the song in to the AI program, have it generated. It generates 2 at a time. And then I have to listen to each one and say, is this where I want to? Is this correct? So you have some controls in Suno where you can slide things around, and you can slide the audio influence up to 100%, which means that it's going to try to do a perfect cover of whatever you uploaded. So it's just kind of like reskinning that old song. And then you have this little style slider, which allows you to adjust how closely it's going to adhere to your style description in the prompt. So if you say in the prompt, it has to be a classical orchestra with French horn, you can make sure the slider is way up there on style, so that definitely there's going to be some French horn in there. But it's not as straightforward as just writing a prompt, selecting 100%, and then spitting it out, because there's still a lot of randomness in the way that it's going to produce the song. So the opera, as I mentioned, there's 32 tracks on the opera, but there's, I think, only about 29 or 30 songs that I used. A couple I used twice in the opera. But I had to create all those versions, and I wanted them to be as true to the original as possible. So it took me around 450 tries. And that means that, putting a song in and then it didn't come out right. Like you put it in, I listen to it and go, nope, delete. Try another one, keep doing that. And a few of the songs, there's one on there called Space Traveler, where the Famous Coffee version of the original is actually a live recording from some show that we played, I guess. And the recording is crappy because it was recorded with who knows what at that time, like a ghetto blaster or something. So it's really, really rough. So then I had to convert that into a much better orchestral version There's some phrasing in the song in the chorus that the AI kept getting wrong. It kept changing the emphasis on the syllables, and I was like, damn it. Had to keep trying it till finally I got one that worked. And that happened on many of the songs. So I would go through like 20 versions of it before I got something that was good. So once I've got all those versions, and I was happy with them all, then I had to edit them together with all the acting parts from the amazing actors, and then do all the narration and string it all together and produce the album. And now, long story short, that got finished. I whipped up a cover so I could have a cover to stick it up on Bandcamp. And I was pretty happy with it. I was like, wow, what a process. This is cool. And I was kind of excited about what I could do with some of these old songs. Hey, just let me show you something kind of crazy. Like I mentioned that there's all these old Famous Coffee albums. I dug these out of a bin so you can see them up there. Those are some of the CDs from those early days. These are all recordings and all old albums on cassette. And then in the computer, there's even more that are in digital folders. So it's just so much stuff that could be revisited. And when Grant and I were recording all those songs, we used to joke that when we turned 50 or something, if we ran out of ideas for songs, we could always go back and re-record our old stuff and dig up that stuff. And it's somewhat irony that that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, chapter 3. So, or maybe it's chapter 2. I don't know. Chapter whatever. The next chapter. What I then found out was that there's, despite my excitement about AI and I love playing with all the tools and all that, in the musicians world, there is this total fear or total hatred of AI generated music for obvious reasons, right? Is it going to take away our livelihood, or is it going to ruin my whole love of music and all that? I hope not. And I think too that there's issues around the ethics of these AI programs, because AI has to be trained on something. So how was the AI that you're using to generate music, how was it trained? And is it taking all this artist's music and then spitting out something new, and it's basically just copying so-and-so? Like I mentioned, there's that one song that here is my heart. That one, when it got spit out by the computer, it sounds really great, but to me, the singer sounds like Bublé. And the piano playing sounds like, I don't know who plays piano for him, or maybe he does. But anyway, it sounded like somebody I already knew. So that kind of made me think maybe there's something else going on here that is kind of creepy. So I started doing a little bit more digging, particularly on that program, Suno, because that's the one I used. And the more I found out about them, the more I felt like this is total shit. Like the CEO is a bit of an asshat or a total asshat, doesn't know anything about music, is really, really driven by, subscribers and stats and, taking royalties off all these songs. Like if one of my songs was done through Suno and then it became like a big hit or something like that, even though I wrote it and it was all me, it was just the program reskinning it, they would still take a hefty portion of royalties just because the program spit it out. It would be the same as me. Like I use Studio One. It would be the same as Studio One saying, well, every song that you made on our software, we get half that. We get half the money from that, which is total bullshit. So like as a creator, you should be able to have some control over that. So if I'm putting my own music in, having the AI reskin it, that's very different than me putting a prompt in and saying, write me a song about a cowboy on a mountain. Like super difference. And even if I wrote all the lyrics and then said, write some music to go along with that, my stake is higher because I wrote the lyrics. So none of that is true on Suno. So it's kind of disheartening. So what I've done is I took the opera down, so you can't hear the AI version. I left the Famous Coffee version up, so I created a second version of the opera that is using all the original Famous Coffee tracks. It's rougher, of course, but it's still awesome. It's still great, and especially if you like that kind of lo-fi, weirder, rougher music, then you're going to enjoy it because it's pretty cool. Okay, now where are we? Well, since taking the opera down, I started doing some research because what I really want to do is take those old songs and then re-record them with orchestra. I don't have an orchestra. I can't just call up the Guelph Symphony Orchestra and say, hey, play all these songs for me. They're not going to do that. So I need a tool to help me do it. There are some manual ways to do it, which I'm going to try, where I might be able to take the old song, take it apart into stems, and maybe use MIDI to replace the stems with orchestral components, and then rebuild the song that way. There's the manual way. I could actually just take my keyboard, which is like right over there, and I could play all the parts on the keyboard with symphonic instruments and such, replace it. That will take me a really long time. And what I didn't really want to get into is a massive project where, it's going to take me 2 years to complete it, because I don't know, maybe I should do that. I don't know. But what I really wanted to do was just hear this opera. I want to get it done, get the music done. So I have all these songs in this really cool operatic version. So I'm still looking for kind of that quicker way to do it, and I don't know how it's going to get done, but I'm going to continue doing it. In the meantime, you can listen to the Famous Coffee version. You can learn all those songs so you can sing along. They're fantastic. So I've done a whole lot of research on all these different AI music platforms now, and I've got a sense of what's out there. And so far, I haven't found one that will do what I want and satisfy the ethical component of this. There are ones out there that are better than Suno, that's for sure, in terms of the ethics and in terms of compensating the musicians whose music is being used to create all the AI stuff. So they are out there. But what I found really disturbing is that a lot of these ones are all based off what they call an AI cover. And that's where, you can take a song that you love, like Country Roads by John Denver. Am I aging myself? And then you say, I want my voice on that. So you train it on your voice, and then it'll put your voice on that song. And I guess that's kind of cool. That's kind of like, for some people, it's kind of cool because it's like karaoke where you try to sing, Country Roads and you sound terrible. So you say, what would it sound like if I was good? And it'll put your voice on there and make you sound good and stuff. So I guess that's what people are looking for that maybe don't produce their own music. So go for it. That's fun. Karaoke's great. I love karaoke too. But what I want is I want to be able to make music, and I want some tools that I don't have, like an orchestra, or access to certain kinds of instruments that I don't have. And I would love it if I could just tell the AI what I want it to play, and then it can go and produce the actual the stems that I'm going to use in my recording. That would be fantastic. Then the other thing that AI has been doing is these different AI voices. So you can upload your song, and then it will just analyze the vocals and give you a vocal stem with some singer. And all these singers that have participated, they've given license to use their voice to produce all these songs. And there's like, most of them will only have a couple hundred, maybe a couple hundred voices, which is nothing, zero. So it means that if anyone's making music with this stuff and using those voices, all those songs are going to sound exactly the same and as boring as can be. So that's not interesting to me either. If I was to do that, I'd want to train it on my own voice, but then also use my own songs, which apparently you can't do yet. So I guess I got to wait. So that's the long story. And sorry, this video is a little long. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching all this way. And if you're on your own AI journey and you want to play around with it, I do recommend checking out the company, who's running it, why are they making the music this way, is the training done in an ethical way, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be here. It's something that musicians are going to have to face. And I don't think it's going to erase us as musicians. It's just going to create a new toolbox for us to use, which in many ways could open up all kinds of new avenues. Like, I've always wanted to write a symphony. I just never sat down and bothered to do it. Maybe I can do it now. So anyhow, thanks for listening and good luck. Go check out the videos, or go check the Dr. Coffee Bandcamp page or the Famous Coffee Bandcamp page, and you'll find stuff there. I'll put some links in so you can find them. Alrighty, bye now.